Your program will begin shortly. Launch sequence. Activate. Warning, the following content is not politically correct. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the channel today, everyone. I'm Sarah Higdon. This is Transform to Freedom. Hope y'all had a good weekend. It was pretty good for me. Just kind of getting back into the swing of things. Didn't do too much last week. And then just kind of, enjoyed the weekend. Got to hang out with the dog. Weather's getting nice here in Georgia, so it's nicer to go outside and go do other things. I actually almost went to the baseball game yesterday because I realized you can get tickets cheap the day of games. So I didn't, though. Like I said, I just kind of ended up relaxing a little bit more. So let me see. But so got a couple things we're gonna talk about. Obviously, you see the heading, like the title. We're going to talk a little bit about politics, as we usually do, especially this time of year with the election and stuff coming on. But I want to, as you know, we'd like to start off the show with some quick stuff, generally that really stuff I want to highlight and talk about. The first thing we got today, I've talked a little bit about this in the past. Actually, I have a full video about this. And so right now there is a male golfer named it's male golfer, trans woman, named Haley Davidson, who is now competing at the LPGA qualifying school, trying to get onto the LPGA tour next year. Again, Riley nails it. And if you go back again, watch my just regular video about this. Go watch my video about this because it goes into depth. Haley knows that a trans person, all males have a performance advantage, yet Haley will not quit competing in the female category, thinking that, hey, I'm just one person. Why is it such a big deal if I compete? But you're not just one person. You represent a big group. So yeah. And so here is Haley competing at the Q school. Like I said, I don't support males competing in female sports. They always take away an opportunity from female athletes who, this video actually does a really good job of saying exactly what we've kind of talked about quite a bit. Davidson's older. Like, this is what always happens. This is what we saw, like, with Laura Hubbard in the Olympics, right? Mediocre male athlete that couldn't perform and then goes out there and performs the same lifts they performed 20 years ago as a male, as a male athlete and as a in the men's category, and then makes the Olympics in the female category doing the same lifts from 20 years ago. Like, listen, golf is something I know a lot about. I know that as as somebody who has played a lot of golf, I enjoy playing golf quite a bit, actually. My average drives have not gone down at all. I can hit the ball just as far as I could pre-transition. I've been on hormones for what, 5 years now, 5.5 years now. There's been no change in my performance in golf. I hit the ball. I've always hit the ball about the length of the average LPGA Tour player. And if I went out there and, worked on my game like somebody who was actually playing professional golf would, then I would be competing in the men's category. Or I would not I would be able to compete in the LPGA, but I'm not gonna do that because I don't believe it's right. Um, so actually, I want to address what you guys are talking about. So yes, actually, if you guys saw a Kamala Harris ad before this stream, then yeah, they do have to pay me. Um, it's I mean, every time one of those videos comes on my show, they pay ad revenue. So yeah, thank you to the Harris campaign for your generous paying me of ad revenue. So if you guys see those, actually, if you know how it kind of works with YouTube, a lot of times you don't I- if somebody skips the ad, I believe, so if they skip the ad, it doesn't count as much for ad revenue for creators. But if it's a non-skippable ad or you watch it all the way through, that's more money in the creator's pocket. Just so you're sure. Now, the other question SRN asks, did they ask the women if it was okay? No, they don't. And this is the thing, is they generally don't. And here's one example from our friend Jennifer Say, who is talking about Lauren Miller, the golfer in this video, is also competing against Haley Davidson. And she's not afraid to push back. She's out there wearing her XXXY hat as well as her other stuff that shows that's supporting. But if they ask, one may say that, like, they're not gonna like stop them. This is the thing, is there's a lot of female athletes out there speaking up, but a lot are afraid to speak up because they're afraid to lose their scholarships. Like, I mean, barred from the tour simply because they decided to speak up against this, right? A lot of female athletes are afraid of the ramifications. Now, the ones that do speak up, um, they yeah, but see, that's, you say free speech. The thing about free speech is it doesn't apply to, private organizations. The LPGA is a private organization. I actually saw this on a comment on one of these posts earlier that said, "Oh, Trump will change this when he's in office, but here's how this works. Trump can't do anything about the LPGA Tour allowing males to compete on the LPGA Tour because the LPGA Tour is a private organization. They make their own rules." The only thing that politicians in general are going to change with this is fix Title IX so that in anything, so government funded organizations such as universities and schools, those are covered under Title IX. And so that is the only thing that Trump can reverse this, the new Title IX rules that the Biden administration has done. And hopefully that once that precedent is set, then I mean, once that precedent is set, then it changes. But I mean, here's the thing, like you're saying, if they agree to it, then it is what it is. If they stop going, then the rules will change. Yeah, that's generally how we've seen rules change in the past. But again, this is also talking about the LPGA Tour. This is their job. This is a professional organization. It's their job, and it should, if they want to be the ladies professional golf association, they should be promoting ladies. So yeah, I think that's the way it would, but that's the thing. I agree that that's the only way that this is going to change, but it doesn't mean that, that's what should happen. I mean, what also happens with something like the LPGA is if the fans push back. See, this is the thing is the athletes themselves don't necessarily always have to push back. These organizations have to make money. And so if the fans push back and stop funding the stuff, then that will change it too. That will change it too. So yeah. The next thing we're going to move on to, and I don't know if you guys have been following this story very much. There is this, it didn't click over. Okay, there it is. The story out of Australia. So there was the worst case name ever, but it's the Tickle versus Giggle court case. So if you don't know, there's this app created by a woman named Sal Grover. Yeah, Sal Grover. Who it's the Giggle app, and it's the only female. It was an all-female app, and actually used AI technology to determine, like, use facial scan recognition to determine whether the person was male or female, and would allow them on the app based off of this. Now, this is this trans person, Roxy Tickle, and again, this is the person, just so everybody knows. This person wanted to get on the app that was created simply for females only. And it was created by a female. And this is kind of going back to what we talked about. Individual private organizations should have the ability to regulate however they see fit. This is her organization. Now, me and Sal have known each other for a very long time. Very early on, when I was starting my platform, I invited her on the show. We were at one point, I would have considered us friends, or at least acquaintances. We didn't really know each other that well, but we had interacted quite a bit, and she was nice. It was funny because when she first started the app, I just wanted to see how well it worked. And I went on and I got on the app. So it didn't screen me out very early on. This was, again, like 2020, 2021. But I immediately deleted the app because it was not made for me. I just wanted to see. And I told Sal that. She knew that. We've, over the years, started to have a lot of differences. I mean, whatever those differences may be, she doesn't believe private organizations can or should be able to discriminate against whoever they want. However, I support her decision. I support her being able to do that with her app. So this is the problem is when you advocate for government to regulate private businesses, you also open the door for them to rule against you. My solution to most of this stuff that we see today is to allow. It's different when it comes to government organizations. It's different when it comes to government funded buildings. It's different when it comes to just stuff that the government provides, what they use taxpayer money to create, right, and maintain. However, it's a completely different story when it's a private organization. I support private organizations being able to allow to discriminate against however they want. Again, this is an all-female app. It should be allowed to be all-female. However, in Australia, they believe that an all-female app should include males. And I guess in their decision, They said that males can change sex, which is not the case. Males cannot change sex. You can't change sex. No matter how long you go through transition, you will never be the opposite sex. You just can't do that. And the court determined that Giggle has indirectly discriminated against and being disallowed from accessing Giggle. The indirect discrimination cases succeeded because Miss Tickle was excluded from the use of the Giggle app because she did not look sufficiently female, according to the respondents. He said that Giggle could not be an app for women only and had to accept men who identify as women, though he attempted to differentiate discrimination by gender identity from discrimination based on sex. So they awarded this person $10,000 for not being able to get on this app. So it just I mean, it's just these types of things. It's just plain wrong. I don't care who it is going against. These types of things are completely wrong. And I will always fight on the side of private business owners to make the rules within their establishment and run them how they want. Like, this is the thing, is this is kind of like what happened in the cake baker case, the cake baking here in the US. I always question somebody, like, if you're not wanted somewhere, like if the owner of a business does not want you there, why do you want to force them to take your money? Why do you want to force them to why do you want them to force why do you want to force them to accept your support? Like, I'll never understand this. This is why the free market works. Like, if somebody doesn't want me in there, I don't necessarily I'm not going to want to I don't want to force them to take my money. You're not missing out because you're not going to be probably even treated very well in there. It's the same, I mean, with the cake bakers. I'm like, if they don't want to make you a cake, why do you want to force them to take your money? Why do you want to support somebody who doesn't support your ideals? And people always ask me the same types of questions when it comes to other types of discrimination. I'm always like, I don't support them doing other types of discrimination, but I also want to know, it's like, again, going back to free speech. I want to know who would be a bigot, so I don't support bigots. So if you're and I'm not going to, like, I want them to be allowed to, because I want to know, so I don't actually go and support them. Mishka Sam asks about closed captions. Now, closed captions, I can't do closed captions on live videos. No. They generally generate after the live, though. So I can't generate it on live videos. Okay. Last thing I kind of want to talk about, and this starts to talk about what's going on with the DNC. What happened at the DNC last week. Now, if you saw this post last week, you'll see that if I click on this, this is the video of Tim Walz's son. Tim Walz was praising his son. and he was proud of his dad. The comments on here were pretty bad. Pretty bad. It ended up getting better as like the day had gone on, but it was really bad that so many people had to comment on this. Yeah, you can see a lot of just awful things people are saying, and I just kind of commented on this. You want to lose faith in humanity? Look at the comment section. And I mentioned that his son has a nonverbal learning disorder along with ADHD and anxiety. I also question how many of those people in the comment section consider themselves good Christians, because making fun of a child, for one, is not being a good Christian. Making fun of a disabled child is just being mean. Here's the thing. I agree with what my friend Martha Bueno said. Kids should be off limits regardless of their conditions. I agree. I agree that kids of politicians should be off limits. And I told her, I said, there's a little bit different. There's a little bit of a difference. Unless they work in the administration, like Trump's kids, or somebody like Kamala Harris's stepdaughter, who has like 375,000 followers on Instagram and is a public person as well. That's a little bit different than going after kids, and especially minors. Those are off limits. I think it's gross when it doesn't help anybody on your side. It literally takes the left, and they just the other side is able to take that and be like, oh, look at how, um, mean and wrong and the type of people that you're supporting. If you go to the other side, it does nothing to bring people to your side. It does nothing for your cause. It only hurts your cause. And to all the people out there, and this is one of the most common things I got people saying on this, was that, the one, a lot of people just think I'm a leftist because I was defending this. And a lot of people are like, oh, where were you when they were attacking Barron Trump and stuff like that? And I literally will say, I think that's disgusting when they attack children in general. But here's the thing. Even if I don't say how bad I think it is, because I comment on a lot of stuff all the time, every day, even if I don't say how bad I think it is, at the end of the day, I don't really care how awful leftists are, because we will call that out, right? The thing about it is I have higher standards for those that I associate with. And so if the right, who I'm a right-leaning libertarian, if the people on the right are being awful people, I don't want to associate with awful people. So I am going to call them out way more than I'm going to call out the people on the other side. Okay? I think I hold the people on our side to a higher standard, because I expect the people on the left to just generally be awful people. I expect the people on my side, the people that I'm being associated with, to be better people. Like, I don't know what else, how else to say that. We need to leave the children of politicians alone. They didn't ask for their parent to be in the public eye. They are not in the public eye. And especially if they are minor children, leave them alone. They have nothing to do with this. That's like, I mean, could you imagine? So Trump's granddaughter went up there and spoke at the convention. Spoke very well too. And if the left were making comments like the right were making on this post, which I don't know, they may have, but the thing is that's only going to turn me away from you, because people don't want to associate with bad people, with mean people. People don't want to associate with it. So they're not going to support you, and it only does more to push people away. I know a lot. I mean, right now there is a huge fight for independence. And this type of stuff pushes people away. So yeah. So that's that. Now, kind of, I guess, going to be the theme of today's show is free speech. Because the first bigger story that we have today is the founder and CEO of Telegram being arrested in Paris as he was exiting his private jet. So, from what it seems, we're going to pull this up from Human Events. From what it seems is he was being arrested for not for not allowing the UN or the authorities, the global authorities, I don't exactly know who it was, for not letting them have a back door into Telegram to be able to monitor what's going on Telegram. What they're also saying is that he was under threat of a warrant due to the lack of moderation on the platform. So again, he's facing, so basically they report he's facing 20 years in prison for alleged offenses, including terrorism, narcotic supply, fraud, money laundering, receiving stolen goods, and others. And it says he allowed an incalculable number of offenses and crimes to be committed, which he did nothing to moderate. So they're trying to charge him with the crime of creating a website or an app where things can happen on there. Yeah, it's Robbie, and this is exactly what I was starting to think about too. Robbie said Silk Road Part 2. That's exactly what it sounds like, right? This is exactly what they charged Ross Ulbricht with in the United States. He created a website, and there was illicit activities that happened on that website. And so instead of, going after the criminals themselves, they decided to go after the person that made the website that it's allowed to be done, even though they were not involved in the illicit activities that were happening on there. But there's a huge issue with this too, right? We've seen Mark Zuckerberg, we've seen the CEOs and the CEOs and executives of all social media platforms in front of Congress, because illegal activity like this happens on all platforms, right? No, John, Ross does not deserve to be in prison right now. Ulbricht he created a website. They didn't charge him with anything other than facilitating via website that he created. Now, nobody's saying that he didn't do anything wrong. This is the thing about Ross, especially. Nobody's saying that he didn't do anything wrong at the end of the day. There's a reason why all the candidates that are running for president, except for Kamala, have agreed to commute Ross's sentence. He was sentenced to 4 life sentences for this, for creating a website. They've all offered to commute his sentence, not pardon him. Big difference between pardoning and commuting a sentence. Same with this that's going on here. But the thing is I mean, Telegram is encrypted messaging back and forth. So governments can't, infringe upon privacy and go in there. Now, I remember, and I don't know exactly if this happened, but I remember when Elon took over Twitter, he had talked about making all direct message communications encrypted as well. So I don't know. I don't know if that ended up happening. But it's interesting because if you can start if you can start going after owners of platforms simply because illegal activity happens on those platforms, then you're not going to have any social media platforms, for one. And yeah, you're going to see it would have to go across the board. Like Facebook has been one of the worst sites for human trafficking out there. The numbers show it, and they talked and he got hammered by the I think it was the Congressional Oversight Committee for this issue, because they haven't done a great job of rooting it out from their platforms. And this is kind of like the same thing. I mean, is the CEO of Apple going to be arrested? Because Apple has refused many of times to not create, they will not create a backdoor into the iPhone. Like, the iPhone is a secure device, right? So they need a warrant to, and I don't know if again, I don't remember if they've actually created this backdoor to where if the police get a warrant, they can actually then go in and open up up your iPhone. But that's the thing, is like your phone, like when it's locked and only you can open it. That's why, like, you can get locked out for a very long time if you are not careful with your phone. If you type in the wrong code too many times. I heard about somebody, their child locked them out of their iPhone for like a year because they just kept hitting buttons on accident. Like, their toddler had the phone and just like locked them out. Yeah. Don't give your kids phones, right? But as we're kind of talking about this, now you have retired Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman issuing this warning, basically warning Elon Musk to tread carefully when it comes to Twitter, that you have to regulate Twitter. It can't be a free speech platform. It can't be like this, right? So now, if you remember, Vindman is he's the one that testified against Trump during his impeachment hearings and stuff. But he doesn't sound like he's really. He sounds like an oath breaker in this post. He says there's a growing intolerance for platforming, disinformation, and maligned influence, and a growing appetite for accountability. Musk should be nervous. So, a growing intolerance for platforming, disinfo, and maligned influence. Disinformation and misinformation and maligned influence, that's not a violation of the First Amendment. It's not. This is not doing there's nothing illegal about this, and you don't fight bad speech. You fight bad speech with more speech. And if you're talking about growing appetite for accountability, the accountability on Twitter is community notes. Yeah, disinformation is straight out of Orwell. You're right, Robbie. And Elon himself called the arrest an indication of dangerous times and used the hashtag Free Pavel. It very much is crazy times, but again, the government is going to be there to. The government, they're trying to take away our free speech rights all the time, from national to local to and they're trying to silence everyday people. They're violating people's First Amendment rights every day. If you haven't seen this video, this is kind of an amazing video, and it went around yesterday. Now there is the mayor of Surprise, Arizona. I believe it's Surprise, Arizona, right? Let me see. I think it's Arizona. Basically had this woman arrested for she's trying to figure out how much certain city officials are actually being paid, and she's put in FOIA request. And then she came to the city council meeting this last week to ask about her FOIA requests. And this was the response that she got.
Numerous public records requests that I have open right now that are, quote, pending legal review that I am entitled to request.
I've got to interrupt you here because.
Okay, are you going to stop the timer?
This is the public meeting forum that you agree to when you speak. And I want to read this to you, that there are oral communications during the city council meeting may not be used to lodge charges or complaints against any employee of the city or members of the body, regardless of whether such person is identified in the presentation by the name or by any other reference that tends to identify him or her.
That's all fine, well and good, but that's a violation of my First Amendment rights.
So that's, well, this is your warning, okay?
Warning for what?
A warning for attacking the city attorney personally.
This is all factual information.
It doesn't matter.
You're violating my First Amendment rights.
This is what you agree to when you first speaking. This is the form.
It is unconstitutional, Mayor Hall.
Well, it's not unconstitutional.
It is.
And if you're
the Supreme Court has upheld. I could get up here and I could swear at you for 3 straight minutes, and it is protected speech by the Supreme Court. It is.
No, you can't.
Why don't you look at case law?
No, you can't.
I can.
So if you want to be
also the chair is engaged in a debate, so point of order.
Do you want to be escorted out of here? Do you want to be escorted out of here?
You're violating my First Amendment rights.
Talking.
You are violating my First Amendment rights.
That's your opinion.
It's not a matter of opinion.
Do you want to be escorted out, Ms. Massey? Because that's what's going to happen. And it's going to happen in the future also. Anytime you attack.
That's why you changed the rules.
Or any.
That's why you changed the rules.
This has been on the back of this form.
I understand, Mayor Hall, but that is completely unconstitutional.
No, it's
You're
not.
Also engaging in debate, and so you should actually be yielding the floor to somebody else managing.
Chief, could you have somebody come down here and escort Ms. Massey out?
Really, is that necessary?
Yes, I think it is.
In front of my 10-year-old daughter, you're going to escort me out for expressing my First Amendment rights.
She can go with you.
I'm not leaving.
Well.
I'm expressing my first. Do not touch me. Do not put your hands on me. Do not put your hands on me.
Come on out.
Do not put your hands on me.
Come out with me.
Okay. So, yeah. Again, that's a clear violation of the Constitution. It's a clear violation. That's exactly what the First Amendment was for, petitioning and speaking freely against the government. If you can be, this is exactly what it's for. Now, and again, if you think that the police are just going to be out here upholding your rights, this person's just following orders, right? breaking their oath. Their oath is not just to follow orders. Their oath is to the Constitution, right? I don't actually know with police officers if they do an oath to the Constitution. I would assume that it is, though, because they are there to uphold the rule of law, and the supreme rule of law in the country is the Constitution, to prevent stuff like this from happening. So, and I'm glad Spikes, You Are the Power team are working with her, because they need to. I mean, I think she has a case. If there's plenty of lawyers out there. I know a couple of great lawyers had seen this post and also chimed in how it's a clear violation of the Constitution and her First Amendment rights. Because, yeah, open forum like this is exactly what it's for. Like, you have a right to petition. And when she got the chance to go up there and speak, they can't deny her to say what she wants to say. She has the right to go up there. And as she said, she could go up there and curse them out for 3 minutes, though, from the time, and it would be completely within her legal and constitutional rights. But that's what the First Amendment is for. Like, we all talk about it, like it's to talk about, we should be able to say and do what we want, but there are certain things you can't say to other people, right? Like, you can't talk, like, there's certain things that you can't do, but the Constitution is there to petition your government, because the whole point is that if you're not allowed to petition your government, and you can be arrested simply for holding your public officials accountable, then that is tyranny. This is tyranny. It's like, oh wait, you want to come up here and question what we're doing? How dare you? You know what? You don't have the right to speak here. It's not how it works. That's exactly why they have city council meetings, so you can petition your government. That's exactly what this meeting is for. So, but follow that case. I'm sure there'll be some stuff to. I hope that they do sue. I hope that they stop this from happening more. And actually, if you go, there is a Give Send Go on Spike Cohen's post at Real Spike Cohen on Twitter. There's a Give Send Go, so you can help them sue the government. Yeah. Now, to what we talked about. Now the big story of the week. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. not only dropping out of the race or suspending his campaign, because he will appear on like 40 ballots or something like that. His name will. But he has suspended his campaign, and it has endorsed Donald Trump for president. It's really interesting because, his family came out and they're not happy about this at all. They say he's tarnishing their father's legacy. I don't know. I think it's really interesting. There's a lot of I could go off on some conspiracy theories as to why they may say that. Let me just give it though to give some props to RFK's wife, who he's married to, Cheryl Hine, who was she was in Curb Your Enthusiasm with Larry David. Great show, funny show, but it's more of a left-leaning show. And I do believe that has kind of always been more of a leftist. But when she made a comment about this, she said she was very proud of her husband's campaign. Very proud, very supportive over his decision to drop out, and just kind of left it at that. And I think that's all she could do. I see a lot of leftists saying she has to come out and she has to condemn his endorsement of Donald Trump. Really? Listen, I think it's shameful that the Kennedys are willing to not only just like publicly condemn their brother's decision to endorse Donald Trump, but to also say that they have basically disowned him because of politics. Listen, if politics, it's really sad if you disown family members simply because of politics. Now, there's different reasons why I would say, you know, if your family are, you know, abusive and stuff like that, then I would say don't associate with your family. But if you're like my family, I have Democrats. I grew up in Michigan. I grew up with a grandfather and grandmother who were both union employees at GM. Our grandfather was a lifelong Democrat. And if you grew up like that, it's like, hey, you know what? We can generally agree to disagree on policy. I understand why somebody would support, you know, but I think in reality, I mean, I would disagree with somebody like that's decision to vote Democrat when the Democrats only destroy labor jobs, send them overseas. I don't, you know, so I think there's different reasons. I wanted to play this. I don't know if I can. I'm not going to play it with audio. Let me see. Yes, this was pretty epic. And if you didn't see the video itself, he's walking out to the Foo Fighters. There goes my hero. But the problem with it is that song is getting there's a lot of controversy going on with that song. I'm afraid that if I play it on YouTube, I will get a copyright strike because I'm even showing the clip. But this was this was pretty epic. The way that just the video shot, it was great. And now I want to show you this too, because this is, I'm not going to play the song just because I don't want to get the strike. I don't want to get booted off YouTube for a certain period of time. So, but this is when he announced him and let him, and RFK walks out to fireworks. You know, it was amazing. Let me see, because there is and the crowd is going crazy. You would have thought this was, you know, WWE or, you know, something. This crowd was massive, and I'm not somebody who gets into this whole like size of crowd debate. Not right now. You know, I'm not getting into this debate like thinking that this you know, the size of crowds are showing like enthusiasm and whatnot. I just, but let me see.
He deserves it. He deserves it.
Look, I think this is a good thing. I think RFK Jr. You know, I don't know, because here's the thing: is I think that he would have normally, he was going to take a lot of votes away from Democrats. I don't know if his endorsement will do more to bring people over to Trump, or people won't vote, or will they move over to Clinton now because they're never Trump people. I think I've kind of said this before. I'm not a big RFK Jr. fan. I liked his stance. That's, anti, I guess, establishment, anti 3-letter agencies. You know, he wants to make the country healthy again. Talk about clean food, clean environment, all this stuff, which I think is great. There was just some stuff that I didn't really care for about his platform. He was still very much a Democrat, even to the point where he at one point said he wanted to have government-backed mortgages. So the way that the government backs student loans, and which has made student loan prices go through the roof, he wanted to back mortgages. So that way, if you didn't pay, then you couldn't foreclose on a government backed mortgage. You were stuck with that debt forever. It would increase the size. It would increase the cost of a loan. The interest rates would go up because people could just get it. It would actually create a very bad housing bubble. And then 20 years down the road, they're saying, hey, we need to have mortgage forgiveness, mortgage loan forgiveness, just like they try to do with student loans. But I'm not for a lot of that stuff. He had a lot of questionable stuff on guns, and I'm not for a lot of what his positions were. But when there was rumors starting to swirl not long after the assassination attempt that he may be talking to Trump, I said it would be kind of interesting if he was if Trump, and I could see Trump offering him a job in like a cabinet position. I could see him offering Kennedy a position like I mean, who knows? Even the somebody, even the attorney general, if he was the attorney general, you could have him go and have him investigate the FBI and CIA, which is one of the biggest things I think that he brings to the table, to be able to go against a lot of these, the 3-letter agencies, like go in and have accountability. In the speech, Trump said that he was going to, he was going to declassify the JFK files, which, I mean, that's a pretty big deal, especially to somebody like Kennedy. I think if you have somebody like him that can come in the administration and do some stuff, a lot of people are saying, put him in charge of Health and Human Services. Now, I don't know necessarily about that. I think it's quite clear that he's probably on steroids, but I do think that there is a lot of stuff that we can do to make our food healthier again. So they're talking, put him in charge of like the FDA. I don't know what his background would be to be in charge of something like that, other than he would have oversight over stuff that he knows a little bit about. And he can actually dig in and go in and do some stuff. But yeah, I think it's interesting. Here's his reasoning.
This is a spiritual journey for me. I reached my decision through deep prayer, through hard-nosed logic, and I asked myself, what choices must I make to maximize my chances to save America's children and restore national health? I felt that if I refused this opportunity, I would not be able to look myself in the mirror, knowing that I could have saved lives of countless children and reversed this country's chronic disease epidemic. I'm 70 years old. I may have a decade to be effective. I can't imagine that President Harris would allow me or anyone to solve these dire problems. After 8 years of President Harris, any opportunity for me to fix the problem will be out of my reach forever. President Trump has told me that he wants this to be his legacy. I'm choosing to believe that this time he will follow through. His son, his biggest donors, his closest friends, and all support this objective. My joining the Trump campaign will be a difficult sacrifice for my wife and children, but worthwhile if there's even a small chance of saving these kids. Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country and our children is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other. That's why I launched my campaign to unify America. My dad and uncle made such an enduring mark on the character of our nation, not so much because of any particular policies that they promoted, but because they were able.
So yeah, and that's what I think this is. I mean, I made in here this. I said actually this statement I'm going to tell you about in a second before this even happened. But here we go. And then today, this isn't as much of a surprise because we had heard that Tulsi Gabbard had been working with Trump on debate prep. But so this wasn't as much of a surprise. But today,
it is a privilege to be here with all of you, my brothers and sisters in uniform, especially on this day of all days. I had the privilege of joining President Trump this morning at Arlington Cemetery, where he joined 2 Gold Star families and loved ones of Staff Sergeant Hoover and Sergeant G, both of whom were 2 of the 13 killed in the Abbey Gate attack 3 years ago today in Kabul. And I can tell you, as we were there, as he laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, joining these Marines' loved ones, I felt the sorrow that he shared with them in their loss. I felt, and this is personal for me, as I know it is for so many of you here. This is real. Every single one of our lives, whether you're a soldier, you're an airman, a Marine, sailor, or a coastie, wars on multiple fronts and regions around the world, and closer to the brink of nuclear war than we ever have been before. This is one of the main reasons why I'm committed to doing all that I can to send President Trump back to the White House, where he can once again serve us as our commander-in-chief. Because I am confident that his first task will be to do the work to walk us back from the brink of war. We cannot be prosperous unless we are at peace.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, that's not as much of a surprise as RFK, because Tulsi's kind of been leaning this way for a while. I like Tulsi a lot. I've been to anti-war rallies with her. I know that's one of her top ticket items, and it's one of mine. And so it's one of the same reasons why I'm voting for Donald Trump. The no new wars. Having somebody like Tulsi in there to, probably, guide and, bring us back so we're not supporting all these foreign wars. Having people like Thomas Massey in Congress who also have endorsed him and have said, are very anti-war and would tell him like it is, that we shouldn't be sending more money to Ukraine or Israel or any other country in the world. We should be bringing it back home, paying down our debt. I think that those are the people that are going to change this. And I said, you have now it's really interesting watching what's going on, because it does almost seem like you have now two former Democrats. I mean, Donald Trump is a former 90s New York Democrat. You have two former Democrats, and RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard. You have somebody like Vivek Ramaswamy, who I think he has a lot of libertarian leaning tendencies. I like Vivek a lot. He in a lot of areas he is quite libertarian. I think he goes a little bit more conservative in other areas. You have even JD Vance is anti-war. And all these people that are surrounding him are anti-war, except for that stupid Lindsey Graham, which I still don't understand why he keeps Lindsey Graham around. But everybody there is anti-war. And so I think like one of these top ticket issues for me is that. And so I think this will be a good thing. And it does really seem like Trump is running a campaign on unity, bringing in people from all different backgrounds. Doesn't matter what party you were part of, or whether like you're JD Vance and you were an anti-Trumper Republican, whether you were literally just running against him 2 days ago for president and RFK Jr. I really do see this kind of as a party, this campaign as to bring people together. And he's moving very centrist on a lot of issues. I don't know. I think that all this stuff is making sense. And the thing is like the RFK thing, he said he reached out to the Harris camp, and they ignored him. They didn't have the time of day to talk to him, because he wanted to give them the opportunity to earn his endorsement of their campaign. And they didn't have the time to talk to him. They didn't think that at one point he was polling 15%. His high, and then he moved down to he's in the single digits right now, but they didn't think that those 10% were even worth they were even worth trying to get. The people that were very supportive over a third party, that they were worth it. I think that should be telling to anybody who is thinking about moving from RFK to Kamala Harris. They didn't want your vote. But it is interesting. We're kind of getting close to the end, so we kind of do our thing here. I just want to talk about some of these other things that's going on. And then this is what you get from the Harris campaign. So Trump put out this statement on True Social, talking about how he watched ABC and their reporter, their biased interview of Tom Cotton, and a panel of Trump haters. And he started questioning why would I do the debate against Kamala Harris on that network? Right now, Kamala Harris has only agreed to do the debate on ABC. Trump's agreed to do them on all the networks, 3 other debates. They've only agreed on ABC. And what's significant about ABC? ABC gave what was found to have given Hillary Clinton the questions in advance in the 2016 campaign. Remember this? Yeah. So why is that the only one? Not even CNN, they said. Not NBC, not CBS, not even CNN. And so now the Harris campaign is saying Donald Trump is now wavering on his commitments to debate. He's looking. He said, why won't they do it on any other network? And here's the thing: is I think that they're trying to get. I actually think that they don't want Harris to debate. They know she won't even take questions from reporters. They've declined 3 other debates, and now they're trying to claim that Trump is scared. She won't even talk to the media. She won't even talk to the media. And now you have the media is now starting to hit back, right? They are now starting to say the New York Times, who's been pretty good lately, actually. New York Times says joy is not a strategy. They're just running a campaign on joy, which is really interesting, right? They're saying, yeah, joy is not a strategy. You can't win a presidency just because you're full of joy and you bring joy to the presidency. When it's really interesting because you can just Google this. This is all news organizations have talked about this, but Kamala Harris has had a 92% staff turnover rate during her first 3 years because she is awful to work for. So you talk about joy, she's not a joy to work for. Only 4 out of her initial 47 staffers from the first year are even still employed consistently without interruption by the vice president. Furthermore, the turnover chaos isn't getting any better. In the trailing 12 months period, 24 staffers left. That's almost half the employees. They told The Atlantic, top to bottom dysfunction. In her first year and a half as vice president, Harris saw the departure of her chief of staff, communications director, domestic policy advisor, national security advisor, and other aides. Basically, they're saying people really don't want to work for her. A former staffer said in January 2022, people just don't really want to work for her. She's not full of joy. She puts on this front to the media. But yeah, she can't even get in front of the media because she's it doesn't like she's not good in front of the media. I think there's another clip out today where she did actually talk to a reporter and it was so bad. But here's another one. This is actually CNN.
In all these speeches, as good as they were, is that she's in the White House right now. Democrats have controlled the White House for 12 of the last 16 years. And for all of the talk about division and the problems in the country and people are hurting, Democrats have mostly controlled this country. Trump had it for 4. The Obamas and Biden had it for the rest of the time. And somehow it's still all Trump's fault. And somehow she hasn't been at the center of it. So to me, that's still the glaring hole in this campaign that hasn't yet been solved at the convention. How do you explain all of the problems that will be solved by the person who is currently in there for the last 3.5 years, who is supposed to already be working on solving it?
Yeah. He's talking about a lot of the division, but it's kind of the same thing. Like, they're running a platform on when I get into office, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Well, you're already in the vice presidency. The Democrats in general have the White House for the last 3 years, and she's been the vice president. So how are you running a campaign on how are you going to run a campaign on I'm going to fix something that when I get elected, when you can just fix it right now? Like, how are you running on day one promises when if they're day one promises, then you can just do them now? Or can you not convince the senile guy that you just forced out to sign whatever you want? I mean, come on. You're in there now. How does this these things, they don't make sense. But here's another one. Here's what they think of you. Here's what they think of this country. Here is what they think. This is the Human Rights Campaign president.
We can't just worry about protecting democracy. In this moment, we've got to reimagine it with people that look and love like us at the center. And I think for us right now, it's about reimagining freedom and this American story in a way that is more revolutionary than what our founders actually put down on that little piece of paper, but instead is the type of democracy that is by and for all of the people of this country. That's the opportunity that we have. We can't just worry about protecting.
What they put down on that little piece of paper, we need to reimagine democracy. Well, what does that even mean? Like, democracy is this buzzword that doesn't seem to have a meaning for Democrats. Democracy simply means voting in elections, right? Voting for a representative government via 50-50 vote. So what does reimagining democracy mean? It's meaningless. It just sounds good. And then we need to reimagine it so that people like us, that look like us, are put at the helm. It almost seems like they want to, again, this is what equity is. This is communism. This is not equal opportunity, but equity. It's not equal opportunity. It's equitable outcomes to where we are now favored. That's what she's saying. That's what she's saying. That's what they think of you. And that's, again, human rights campaign. Just wanted to throw out the Constitution. Yep. So yeah. But y'all, that's kind of it for today. I think it was actually pretty good, strategic actually, when RFK Jr. announced his endorsement right after the DNC, right after Kamala Harris's speech at the DNC, like the next day, because that, honestly, it was like the DNC happened and then all the momentum shifted right back over, shifted to Trump, took away everything that, the DNC should have given a bump, but it took all that anybody's talking about is RFK Jr. right now. Nobody's talking about Kamala Harris and the Democrats, which maybe that's what they want. Maybe because I don't know if they were going to get a bump. I don't know if people were really that impressed because they didn't run a campaign. Like they didn't run. All they ran on again was joy. They had no policy. They put out their economic policy, and that's basically been it. They're running a campaign on anti-Trumpism. That's basically it. But yeah. With that, y'all, I want to thank you for joining me. We, as always, have gone over our time, but thank you for joining me. If you haven't already, make sure you click that like and subscribe button. Follow me across all social media. If you remember, we stream on Rumble, we stream on Twitter, and we stream on YouTube. But yeah, so follow me across all social media platforms. Click that like, subscribe button, and I will see you next time.